Happy Monday, everyone. This is Martha with Nature Niche, and this week I want to share with you important information about wildlife-friendly erosion control products. With these early spring warm-ups, I know many of us want to get out into our landscapes, get those projects going, and I'm hoping this post is timed ahead of those efforts. It's really important when we're doing our native planting projects. Many of the species that I discussed in the month of February about feeding wild birds with native plants, part of those projects may involve needing to do erosion control, and it's really important that we think about how to do that in a wildlife friendly way. So erosion control, those are actions that are taken, and there are products that are used to prevent water and wind and ice from moving topsoil and other sediments. And they also help support the establishment of vegetation to help stabilize the ground and protect our downslope and downwind features from accumulating sediments. So helping to protect from degradation in water quality of our rivers and streams. And these actions and products are often taken where there are steep slopes, windy sites, concentrated water flow like ditches and swales, and where we need to protect wetlands and other water features downslope of construction projects. Unfortunately, a lot of our mainstream commonly used erosion control products may cause harm to wildlife and damage to the environment through plastics pollution. Plastic netting is commonly used as an erosion control material. So I really think that it's important that we all carefully consider our project needs and choose materials wisely and in a way that's as safe for our wildlife species as possible. So I would just encourage you, don't necessarily let your contractors or other professionals choose whatever is cheapest for your project. I want to provide this information so that you can have an informed say about what gets placed in your yard or business landscape. This photo here is of an eastern garter snake that was trapped in plastic netting of a erosion control blanket placed over a lawn project. So I am going to show what some might consider fairly graphic images. I want to give you fair warning, but I think a photo's worth 1,000 words, and it's really important to understand how detrimental these products, if chosen incorrectly, can be to a variety of wildlife species. So I'm going to show you some. This is from a Fish and Wildlife Service website. There's some great resources that I'll go over in a little bit, and I'll provide links in this post to those resources as well. Unfortunately, our wildlife often gets entangled in the plastic netting of erosion control products, especially those with welded joints. These nets tend to increase the chances that it'll get caught underneath scales or feathers, and that the wildlife can't wriggle free once they are caught in the netting. The thin lines of plastic catch under their scales. This is true of reptiles and fish and the legs of our bird species, and also our mammals. It can slice into the skin, and this is very stressful and can lead to the death of the animal. If permanently caught, they get dehydrated, desiccated, and then die, or in aquatic environments, drowned. Even if they are able to thrash and get free, they're often cut, and those wounds can get infected, and they can later die from those injuries. So if it's not properly installed, monitored, and repaired, and careful thought given to the materials used, erosion control products can cause significant amount of harm to our wildlife species caught in excess flaps and folds and in the grid of the netting. And this is a concern for both our common wildlife species, but also our rare, threatened, and endangered species. This is a list of rare and state listed and federally listed snake species. As examples, our rare turtles are impacted, as well as our bird species. The netting can get wrapped around their legs, so even if they aren't caught in place, they may become entangled elsewhere in their habitat with remnants of that plastic netting attached to their body parts, and sometimes that netting gets incorporated into their nesting material, and then nestlings can get caught and die as a consequence. And fragments can break off. A lot of times these plastic netting, even if they're marketed as degradable, don't, especially when the vegetation shades that material. And then if it does break up, it ends up in our waterways and breaks apart into microplastics. And so it can be ingested, bioaccumulate, and affect the survival and reproduction of lots of different wildlife species. So by reducing plastics in the environment, we're also reducing risks to people too. And if you want to learn more about microplastics and aquatic habitats, check out Monday with Martha number 153. Okay, so now that we've gone over how our erosion control products can cause harm, let's talk about what we can do. What are those important wildlife friendly product characteristics? So we want to make sure that we're using natural fiber netting if netting is required due to water flow, velocity, slope, factors like that, or no netting at all if it's not necessary. Choose materials that are 100% biodegradable, have a loose weave that's non-welded, and is movable jointed netting. So often that's called lino or gauze weave. Rectangular or elongated mesh is better than square as far as reducing the chances of entrapment and entanglement. And you want to make sure that the erosion control product is properly installed. It's very important to follow manufacturer's directions and specifications and to stake erosion control blankets and mats to the ground. You can use wooden stakes and reinforce with things like native plants or native live stakes that will grow into trees or shrubs where that's appropriate for the project. And you want to make sure that blankets or mats overlap with consideration to where the prevailing wind's coming from. You want those seams downwind so they're less likely to tear up and create extra flaps that animals could get caught in. And you want to work from the toe of slope uphill so that water doesn't catch the edge as it's flowing downhill. You want those uphill mats to overlap over the top of downslope mats. So make sure it's installed correctly and that you're burying the edges of the blankets and mats to reduce the chance of wildlife getting trapped underneath the blanket material. You want to remove the erosion control products as soon as they're no longer needed. Once vegetation starts getting established, if it's possible to get that out of the site without completely undoing the vegetation establishment, that is recommended. And you can consider hydraulically applied erosion control products where they're appropriate, like road rights-of-way or even in your own backyard. This type of erosion control product is applied with water and often a tackifier and some sort of light wood-based mulch, and can be applied often with the seed mix. So great for steep slopes all the way down to lawn applications. It's just as important to know what not to use, so you want to avoid using plastic netting of any type, including things marketed as degradable, photodegradable, UV degradable, oxo-degradable, or oxo-biodegradable plastic netting. You also don't want to use polypropylene, nylon, polyethylene, and polyester netting products. But you want to get them out of there as soon as the immediate need for erosion control has passed. Don't leave them on site if you can help it. You don't want to use silt fences that are reinforced with metal mesh or plastic mesh. That can also lead to wildlife entrapment. In general, silt fence can be a very useful erosion control product and help prevent wildlife from entering into construction zones. So often used to help reroute turtles and snakes and other reptiles and amphibians and keep them out of high construction traffic areas. But you do want to make sure that those are monitored, often daily, and that they're not going into disrepair and trapping wildlife species. So they need to be appropriately installed and monitored and repaired to be as wildlife safe as possible. So here's the website where I got a lot of this great information, including the presentation and some of those slides and great photos I was able to show you. So make sure you check this website out. Here's the presentation I was pulling from. They have a nice handout with a lot of peer-reviewed scientific research to back up kind of what is known and what we should be doing. And they also have this wildlife-friendly erosion control product list, which I highly recommend taking a look at. This product list has a lot of great information for you to peruse. There are over 70 different products detailed here that are wildlife friendly. Lots of specifics on where it's applicable, what type of site characteristics and what it's made out of and who sells it. So a great reference to help you select appropriate material for your backyard or other landscaping project, or at least to communicate with the professional that you're working with, whether that's a civil engineer or a professional registered landscape architect, whoever is in charge of kind of choosing that erosion control product. This will definitely help you communicate with them about what you want to see used and to be as wildlife safe as possible. So I really hope that you will share this information with anyone you know who is doing a project that involves revegetation, grading, and will probably need soil erosion control. Please share with any landscape companies that you have worked with or hired or may do so in the future. Certainly government officials and policymakers. The states shown here all have guidelines for wildlife-friendly erosion control products, and I certainly hope Michigan will follow suit. And I definitely hope this helps you proactively choose wildlife-friendly erosion control products and decrease the risk to wildlife and contribute to meaningful stewardship and conservation for all species. Thanks for listening. Take care and have a good week.